T.B.Photo X1.5 TFX, and welcome back to another video. Well, this was basically me when imagination starts to take a hold of you, and you know, for you guys, I think I haven't told anybody this before in these YouTube videos, but matter of factly, I'm dyslexic. But that is not just a disability, but it can also be an ability. Many people with dyslexia apparently have good spatial ability, and that is the ability to see things or pre-visualizing things in 3 dimensions. But anyway, that's a little bit beside the point. But here's the thing. Sometimes you have an image in your head that you want to make, actually. You want to make an image. And you're starting to figure out, how can I do that? Because I knew I wanted to take an advertising shot of 2 of my cameras, the Mamiya RZ67 Pro 2 and the Nikon F4. I know that the RZ Pro 2 is a 90s camera, but the predecessor, the Pro 1, was introduced in the 1980s. So I thought I wanted to do an 80s vibe thing, but also the F4 was introduced in 1988. But the thing is, what I wanted to do was to have a black backdrop so it becomes black on black, and I want to have some studio flash on either studio flash or studio lighting. I can use the modeling light on my studio strobes, but I want something else. That X factor, and something that was very 80s was laser grids. You know, all those terrific old grid patterns and so on that you associate with the 1980s. Pastel colors and lasers. That's basically the 80s in a nutshell. Probably put something up here. The Far Cry game spin-off, Blood Dragon. You can't get more 80s in the 21st century, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But anyway, I started to get this vibe in my head that this is how I want to do this shot, this is how I want it to be done. But I needed some stuff for it that I didn't currently have, but searches on eBay and some second-hand thrift stores or some other places, and I finally got it, because one of them I had to buy new, I couldn't get it used, but it wasn't that expensive in itself. It was about not even $50, 500 Swedish about, and the other one was about 200 Swedish, so all in all I was in about 700 plus Swedish for doing this. But I knew that these things that I got, I can actually use them for other things. I can use them for other types of photography to get that effect when I'm after it, that I'm after. But first of all, here you go. What is this? This is a little dual beam, very simple dual beam laser projector. It's extremely simple. It's only one red and one green laser and some kind of prism system that makes it into a grid. But since it goes out in a fan shape, it really gives you a grid pattern, because everything goes out in an arc, so to speak. So you will see later with in the video what I meant. But this little thing, very usable, because you also have a little remote control, which I'm not having with me at the moment, but you can remote control this to slow it down or even freeze the motion of it, and if you freeze it just right, you get a very good grid pattern. So, but here's the dilemma. When you're shooting and trying to get laser beams in the picture, the problem is that they're very transparent except for the point they're shining on. You need some medium to, reflect the laser light, because it's not a solid beam really. And also I wanted to, shine light on the camera that I was taking a picture of. So we had that dilemma, how do I light this in a way that really makes it pop? So I did use some studio strobes. I don't have them here, but anyway, But to get the lasers looking and visible, I had this old picture of me taking an HDR, and it was nighttime because it was completely dark, almost completely black, and I used an air can, you know, compressed air can. If you turn one of those upside down and you press it, you will actually get a very strong mist to get out of it. But it didn't really work that good. But what I got when I went and got myself instead was one of these. This is a small fog machine, you know, real disco era stuff, you know, club stuff. I don't know if it's as prevalent today as it once was, but anyway, this was the cheapest I could get. That is still, I got it on 2 years warranty. I will put the image of the company I went to, Teknikmagasinet. It's a Swedish national store chain of all, you know, some tech stuff, but it isn't the extreme high-end stuff. It's more, you know, amateur-ish stuff. But anyway, so I got this and some other odds and ends around the house. But what I did actually was that I took my Panasonic, you know, the little action cam, and I put on the band around my forehead with the camera right here. So I filmed in first-person view, and I'll just go over to the material that I filmed with in that way, and maybe I'll do some voiceover because the mic and the quality of the mic on that camera is not the best. So I might do some overdubs on that. But anyway, I did the RZ67 Pro 2 yesterday as a test bed, but I thought, why didn't I film that? But then I came up with the idea of doing the same thing in a slightly similar but, you know, still unique fashion with the Nikon F4, and in that way I made it so that I could film that one and make this video, because it was an interesting experiment with lighting and lasers and so on, and I thought I would share the experience with you, and also in the end we'll see some of the finished pictures. But anyway, I think this is all for me for now, and I'll cut over to the B-roll of the Panasonic Action Cam. And as always, this is Tobias Bergström from T.B.Photo X1.5 to FX, and I'd like to see you guys in the next video. And as always, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, as you're supposed to say in this YouTube malarkey. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care from now on. Bye. Okay, so as expected, the audio quality of the Panasonic is not that great, but anyway, here you can see the setup I used. You can see the smoke machine there. It's charging up the studio strobe that I've used on the modeling light, and here is the camera. I'm using the Tokina f2.8 28 to 70mm, and I also have the 80 to 200 on the Nikon F4. Just doing a final check. You can see I have the boom stand there with the laser cannon on the top, and a 4kg kettlebell as a counterweight on the boom. You can see it there on the right hand side by the wall clock. It's that pink thing. And also, as you can see on the studio strobe, I'm using a snoot actually to limit the amount of light falling on the camera so I don't illuminate the black backdrop. That is actually a blanket, a double-sided blanket that is kind of a imitation cheap fur on the one side, or cheap wool. And as you can see there, I'm using a electronic shutter release that I have on a 5-second delay, so I can have time to start the countdown, go over, pick up the smoke machine as I'm doing here, and delivering smoke into the laser light paths in order to illuminate them. So that's basically how I get the lasers to be visible in the final image, by using smoke. Theoretically, I could also do some kind of HDR stuff with this, but trying to do it in one go here. So the smoke, trying to work quickly here, and as you can see, trying to take a look at the preview, and I don't really remember the settings, but I have it already on -2 stops of exposure compensation, but I noticed that I needed even more to black out the backdrop. So yeah, you really have to use not too short of a shutter speed. And as you can see in the background, we have the natural light coming in the windows, so I've used the curtains and another blanket over the windows, trying to limit the ambient light as much as possible. There I turn on the kitchen fan in order to, or rather, I'll do that later, but the reason I'm doing this in the kitchen is because we need some kind of ventilation, because I don't want the fire department to get called in by mistake. So what I'm doing is that I use the kitchen fan to ventilate the room when I'm finished, because this smoke actually stays around for a while, but it works. It really does work. As you can see in the doorway there to the other room, you can see some of the smoke hanging in the air, but you need a little bit more of a concentrated beam of smoke in order to get the lasers showing. But anyway, please enjoy. We're gonna do some more voiceover for it. I mean, this is basically when I got the pictures, and then there is gonna be a cut, you know, short while to another clip where I started to experiment a little bit. Yeah, seeing lights back on, but I started to experiment a little bit with handheld laser pointers in conjunction. You see here I have a blue laser pointer, trying that, you know, Blu-ray laser. You can see it very nicely, because it's actually impressive how well the Panasonic picks up the lasers as well here, because when you use the DSLR, you really need to, you know, take your time with it, so you need long exposure. But this live video, actually, you can actually see the laser beams better than I anticipated. So as you can see here, actually in the pictures, I don't think this really showed up that well, actually. But yeah, it's all a bit of a experimentational stage here. So I think this is how you come up with new techniques in photography in general, that you have to experiment. But anyway, this, as you can see, it's a little bit bits and bobs around around the house. A little modification I did was that I taped a set of cheap barn doors to the laser cannon that I have up there, because I didn't want any lasers to fall on the Nikon F4 itself, so I managed to limit the spread by using those barn doors, and you can probably see them up there by the laser cannon. But that's basically it, and I am chimping with this because this is purely just experimentation at this stage. But I think I'll stop yakking about right now, and we're gonna see some of the finished pictures. So take care from now on. Bye.